Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people for your Monday, January the 22nd. Starting off with, it's official. Corey Perry has signed with the Edmonton Oilers for the remainder of the season. It rates out to $775,000, so league minimum for Corey Perry, and $325,000 in performance bonuses. So as soon as he hits the 10-game mark, it's $225,000 cap hit for that. And then there's $100K that's available to him in playoff bonuses the further that the Oilers go, the more money Corey Perry makes, as long as he's in the games that are necessary for Edmonton to go further in the playoffs. So Corey Perry in Edmonton, we'll see how it goes. I will say he was playing well in Chicago before everything fell apart there, and he ended up being his contract ended up being terminated. So for Perry, honestly, you're getting a depth forward who can still produce and still play at a high level. I don't expect his production in Edmonton to mirror what he was putting up in Chicago early in the year. However, he will have every opportunity to play, I would think, a ton of minutes. And we know what he can do in the playoffs. And for the Oilers, that's really what this is all about. So, Perry, as an Edmonton Oiler, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. It sounds like Jack Hughes is going to be out for a while longer. He's going to be out at least through the All-Star game. New Jersey also without Palat, Nosek, but those two players are back skating. They're not seen as being close to returning at this stage, but at least they're skating, so they are progressing in the right direction. And I did happen to notice while I was putting this board together today that Fire Lindy is trending. So Devils fans, from Fire Lindy to Sorry Lindy, quickly last season. I haven't heard Fire Lindy chants yet this year. Are they coming tonight? They might. It really is going to depend, I think, on how that game goes. If they're winning, it might be kind of awkward to suggest firing the coach, but I mean, they're against Vegas, so it's possible those chants start up. Vegas is a team that's got it together right now. But let me know your thoughts in regards to Lindy Ruff. Do you think New Jersey needs a new coach, or they don't need a new coach? Part of what seemed to spur this today is seeing the line combinations for tonight's game. Devils fans not being happy with the moves being made by Lindy Ruff right now. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't understand it. It feels like we discuss this every now and then, and like it's becoming an annual thing. So who knows? Maybe it will. Maybe every year we'll have Fire Lindy chants followed by Sorry Lindy chants soon after. So maybe if you want to go further down the rabbit hole, if you chant the Fire Lindy chants, New Jersey's going to win, go on a streak, and then you can apologize to him a week later. So it's what happened last year. All right, Connor Timmins has been fined for a cross-check on Brandon Tanev last night. Tanev was in the midst of everything in the first, I would say, 10 minutes of that game last night against Toronto. It did quiet down a bit, kind of, sort of, after that. But yeah, Timmins getting fined. My guess is his reaction to that would be, that's all right. So I don't even put the number on the board anymore because the amount that they get fined, it's not a lot of money by NHL player standards. Dylan Dube, it was announced yesterday, taking a leave of absence from the Calgary Flames. And I think this is absolutely the right call for a player to make. If you are dealing with mental health issues, do not be afraid to ask for help, and do not be afraid to do whatever you need to do to get that help and take time where you can and where you can afford to. For Dube, he'll be away from the team while he attends to mental health issues, and we'll see if it becomes an NHLPA program issue or if he deals with this on his own or through some other mechanism that he has set up. But Dube hasn't looked like himself this year on the ice. He hasn't been producing the way that I think he or the Flames would have expected, and this may very well be what it is. So that's part of it too. Is when a player takes care of that mental health and comes back, they're usually better. One recent example of that would be Connor Ingram. He gets dealt with what he needs dealt with, comes back, and now Connor Ingram is a very solid starting goaltender for the Arizona Coyotes. And if he hadn't got that help, there's no telling about whether or not that would have happened. My guess is probably not. So hopefully when Dube gets this straightened out and comes back, he is back to being the player that we know he can be. And all the best to him in his journey, whatever that takes, and for however long that takes. Not everybody can just get over things in a week or even a month. Sometimes it takes a little while. And with this kind of thing, you just never know. As I've said before, and I'll say it here again, we don't get mad at guys if their shoulders bothering them or if their knees bothering them, they need time off. But as soon as it's a mental health thing, that's when people will be like, oh, I can't believe players these days. Now, it's going to affect your play on the ice. Anyways, so all the best to Dube, and hope he's back as soon as he's ready. Patrick Roy admitting he was nervous before last night's game and his first game behind the bench for the New York Islanders, and that's great. That's great. The players also saying after the game they wanted to get the win for him, of course, and how important that win felt against Dallas. Again, as a Dallas fan, I was just glad it got to overtime. You could see that energy was there for the Islanders. And we'll see if getting that overtime win against Dallas is the start of the Islanders turning things around. They're not that far out. It's not like the Islanders are in a position where they should just fold. They can't really. So Patrick Roy behind the bench. We'll see how far the Islanders can go. Also the good news from that, not just being the win, but the fact that Sorokin made 40 saves last night. If Sorokin can get back to being the game stealer he was last year, that can make coaches look really good. So, we'll see how things go. But Patrick Roy looks good behind the bench. That's where he should be. Last night also, yesterday morning / afternoon, depending on your time zone, or evening, I guess, too, depending on your time zone, Shane Pinto looked fantastic in his return for Ottawa. And you could see that the Ottawa Senators had the lineup out there that they would have wanted at the start of the season. Like, there's injuries here and there for everybody, but basically that lineup for Ottawa is the one they would have wanted for the start of the season. And so if they have a really strong second half, the questions will be asked about how much surgery is needed on the roster, what you need to fix, because they're currently, I think it's 18 points out of the playoffs, something insane like that. So playoffs are not on their horizon. But again, if they have a really strong second half, they could stay within, 18, maybe get it down to 12 points out of the playoffs. And then the questions will start getting asked. But Pinto looked good in the return, and there's still talks about whether or not he and the Sens are going to extend beyond this season and make sure that that's not going to be a distraction this coming summer. Speaking of distractions, Boston Bruins don't need any, and apparently they're not going to have one from Patrice Bergeron. Apparently, I guess there are rumors out there that Bergeron might be coming out of retirement. I don't know where that would have started. I wouldn't have reported on it even if I'd seen it, because no. There have been a few times on Boston programming where they've had Patrice Bergeron, whether it's at the game or talking and stuff. And you can tell from the way he's talking, he has no intention of coming out of retirement. It doesn't sound like he misses the game, obviously, but he has no intention of coming out of retirement. And he's confirmed that to the media, that he's where he belongs and he's not coming out of retirement. Boston, I don't think would want that either, unless he was 100% and gung-ho for it. Honestly, Boston's record's been good, and I don't think you want to mess up the chemistry too much. Not that Bergeron would hurt the chemistry of the team a lot, but I think for Boston it's best if they move along with who they have and go forward that way. So Bergeron, I think he has earned every right to enjoy his retirement. One of my absolute all-time favorite players. 3 stars of the week for the NHL. Kirill Kaprizov, 4 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points, including the hat trick yesterday. He is the first star of the week. Pastrnak of the Bruins, the second star of the week, 3 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. And Logan Thompson won all 3 starts he had this week with a .956 save percentage, and he is the starting goaltender tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights against the New Jersey Devils. So Thompson getting to play a lot because Hill's been hurt, and apparently Pater's not going to be at the game tonight either. So Thompson's going to get leaned on a lot by the Vegas Golden Knights, and so far he's held up pretty well. Once Aiden Hill comes back, do you split the starts 50-50? I think Thompson's at least earned that it could be a 50-50 split. And I think with how goaltenders have been getting injured lately, maybe some load management with goalies is a good idea, and just play them every other game. So Jeff Skinner could return tomorrow for the Buffalo Sabres against the Ducks. He's missed, I think it's 5 games he's missed so far for Buffalo. Eric Johnson is with the team, but there's no confirmation of when he's going to return. So he could return tomorrow against the Ducks, although that's not sounding like it's likely. But for Buffalo, a team that it feels like are right on the verge of maybe getting things going. But I've talked about that all year. I really have. And it feels like it's that hope that I have in the back of my mind that maybe Buffalo can get their season on the tracks again. But either way, I hope they have a really good second half. This is where Buffalo fans be like, no, we want that top draft pick. But so injuries aren't going to help the situation in Buffalo, but at any rate, Skinner coming back should help. If Eric Johnson can go back, that should too. I've still got my fingers crossed for Buffalo. Carson Soucy who, since returning from injury, pretty good for Vancouver. However, according to Rick Dollywall, he's going to miss up to 4 weeks with a hand injury, and so that will impact Vancouver's defense. When Soucy's in the lineup, it makes a huge difference to that blue line. Everybody just slots into the right spot. It just works. It's the same as like Pinto with the Ottawa Senators. And so the penalty kill gets better, your defensive numbers get better, shot suppression of the other team gets better. But yeah, with Soucy out of the lineup, I've basically considered that Vancouver at the deadline would probably be looking for a little bit of depth on the blue line, a little bit of depth up front. I think the discussions of whether or not they need a top 6 forward, I don't think they do. I really don't. I think their top 9 is fine as it is. I don't think they need a top 6 forward. Adding a defenseman is always good because in playoffs, defensemen get hurt. And you're going to need probably 9 or 10 defensemen if you're going to go all the way to a Stanley Cup final. Not saying the Canucks will, but hey, at least they're looking like a playoff team, so that's a start. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But Soucy being out is definitely it's definitely going to cause a little bit of a defensive headache for the Vancouver Canucks and for Rick Tarka behind the bench. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about any of the items on the board. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.